My ex broke up with me as she wants kids and I don't. We're still completely in love and I need help. Do I cut off communication? We matched in late March of this year, and met in person about 10 days later. Between that time we had very open and honest communication about ourselves, our hopes, our interests, etc. It became evident that we would hit it off right away based on our conversations. There was, however, one significant catch. She is 39, never been married and desires having kids of her own, while I'm a divorced 51-year-old with 2 boys, 14 and 11, in my full custody. We almost never met, as we discussed the topic of having/wanting kids the day of our first date. Because we already felt close and comfortable, we decided to keep our first date that night, and it predictably went great. In fact, even our bad dates were great, as we found ways to laugh about it in the moment, and as time went on we fell in love. Fast forward to a month ago and she mentioned one night that she had really been struggling with the idea of giving up on the opportunity to have kids of her own. It was an emotional conversation, and we both understood and respected each other's perspective, still do. Ultimately I told her that she would have to be honest with herself about what she really wants and that I would understand any decision she made, but that I hoped she would want to continue our relationship. She spent the night that night and we never spoke about kids again until last week when she told me she's been losing sleep and can't give up on the idea of becoming a mother, and she ended things. We never had a fight, not about this, not about anything. I love her more than anyone I've ever loved, including my ex-wife. She loves me more than anyone she's ever dated, and more than she ever thought possible. And yet here we are. I'm at all times heartbroken, proud, thankful, caring, upset, lost, lonely, etc. We remain in touch nearly as much as we were before the breakup. We have both openly shared our continued love for one another, cried together about it, and still enjoy spending time together. But it's clear that she's not interested in reconsidering, and I'm not going to reconsider having another child. I am really struggling with this. It feels like a part of me is inexplicably gone. She feels the same way. I know she'll move on, she has to in order to pursue her hopes of motherhood. I can't stand the thought of cutting off ties completely, but I'm afraid I'm only making things harder by acting how I naturally think and feel, i.e. checking in with her about her day, spending time with her, etc. This completely sucks and I've never experienced anything like it before and I'm simply not sure what the hell to do. Should I cut off communication with her, or is there another way to remain close without hurting? Next story 2. My boyfriend isn't ready to introduce me to his parents. It's gonna be quick, I'm just trying to understand what the reason is, even though I've asked him when I'm going to meet his parents twice and he said it'd be soon. I met him in 2021 and since then we maintained back and forth communication until it started being more seriously and we made it exclusive between us but weren't dating yet. In May this year I started questioning him about what we were after feeling we had a really nice chemistry since the end of last year. It may have been a culture shock as I wasn't born in the United States and I've realized small details are very different here. When I asked him he said he thought we had been dating since February and I responded he never officially asked me to be his girlfriend. Anyways, we made it official back in May and it's been great since. We don't argue, of course we've had differences but I would say we are rather good at communicating. The problem for me is I'm used to introducing my partners to my parents sooner instead of later because I feel it's important when it comes to an official relationship. So when he says I'll meet his parents or at least his mom soon and it still doesn't happen, it bothers me because I feel like I'm being hidden or not important enough to be introduced. I've met his brother who recently broke up with his girlfriend and my boyfriend tells me about how their mother gives her thoughts on his brother's relationship, meaning she is aware of one of her sons having a girlfriend, so why not introduce me? Just for some clarifying, I'm aware that his brother's relationship lasted around 2 years. But I don't feel comfortable waiting that much time just to be introduced to his family. Also, one time we spoke about if we ever imagined each other ending up together and he said he could feel it would be this way since we met and that was 2 years ago, So if he felt that way, wouldn't he want to introduce me? Also, he said he isn't ready, which I really don't get, because he could have said that the first time I asked him about it, and I'm aware of his family going through stuff right now too, which I get, but then again, why not try to be clear from the moment I asked him, which was almost a month ago? I would appreciate any thought you have on this. As of now, my mind is really all over the place because I've asked some friends and they seem to think he may just not want to introduce me for whatever reason. One way or another, thank you for taking the time to read. Next, story 3. My husband lacks emotional intelligence, experience convincing an emotionally immature spouse to want to do the work to save the relationship. Throwaway account for privacy reasons. I have been married to my husband for 16 years and we have one child, 6M. We've been together since college, and I'm embarrassed to admit it's taken me this long to realize that my husband has the emotional intelligence of a turnip. He has two settings, neutral/passively happy and angry. Other emotions like sadness, frustration, or fear don't exist, or else they manifest as anger. Whenever I try to discuss something he's done or said that bothers me, no matter how minor it is, he becomes defensive and denies, deflects, blame shifts, and it inevitably becomes a huge fight before he grudgingly offers an apology, usually with a but plus a final justification/excuse tacked on at the end. If I'm upset/sad about something, he'll offer a wooden sorry and perhaps an obligatory hug, but if I go to him for further support, he usually tries to solve the problem by explaining why I shouldn't be as upset as I am, e.g., I'm sorry your grandma died, but she was 91. You knew this was coming. And when something good happens to me worthy of celebrating, e.g. a promotion at work or other measure of personal success, he'll say good job and give me a high five, yes, a high five like we're in high school, and that's it. No genuine smile, heartfelt congrats, offer to celebrate with me, nothing. His milquetoast reaction ends up feeling hurtful, especially compared to the genuine excitement and happiness my other family members and friends express whenever I share good news with them. He also rarely, if ever, asks about my day or attempts to engage me in conversation about what I'm thinking or how I'm feeling, despite me asking him every day how he's doing/how's his days going and attempting to have meaningful conversations. This emotional divide has resulted in what I feel is zero intimacy in our relationship. All we talk about are daily routine matters related to our kid, dog, house, or sometimes what's going on in the news. And while he's a loving, involved father to our son, I'm afraid how him modeling this kind of emotional immaturity might negatively impact our son in the long run. I've tried to talk to him about how his actions and words are hurtful, and he'll improve and be more thoughtful for a little while, but he always ends up reverting back to his emotionally stunted/distant self, and I'm so freaking sick of it. I feel like I'm married to a man-child, albeit one who's extremely hardworking and otherwise contributes his fair share to the household. He helps clean, does laundry, yard work, splits kid duties, etc., which I recognize and express gratitude for regularly. I've tried to suggest therapy for him. He's also a bit of a control freak. He's very picky about how and when chores are done and becomes overly critical if they're not done to his standards, which I think stems from anxiety issues he swears he doesn't have, but he's adamant he doesn't need it. We've also tried couples therapy in the past, but it wasn't very effective because he didn't actually want to go, so put in minimal effort. It's come to the point where I don't want to be around him anymore because I feel like I'm walking on eggshells and can't talk to him about how I feel, as he routinely invalidates my feelings, and it's exhausting. I've honestly considered leaving him because he seems so unwilling to meet my emotional needs, but I'm the child of divorce and would prefer to make it work if I can. There are some positive aspects to the relationship that make it worth salvaging if possible, but not if things remain how they are. So, kind Redditors, I'd love to hear about your own experiences. Have any of you dealt with an emotionally immature partner, especially a long-term partner? Were you able to convince them to put in the work to improve on this front, or was it a lost cause? If they decided to work on developing their emotional skills, what prompted them to take this step? Comment. Boy. I can relate to your husband because I used to be very similar down to expressing that I didn't need therapy. Actually, what I would say is therapy wouldn't work on someone like me. I was very wrong. Therapy did wonders for me. However, and this might not be what you want to hear, but it's true, it was only after she left me that I realized not only was I unhappy with who I was, but I was also emotionally neglectful in our relationship. It was only at that point that I put in some serious work on myself every day for months. And I started to notice a change. I was enjoying things again. I could express my emotions to people. I could set healthy boundaries. And that sparked a journey for myself that has lasted for years, where I'm not only continuously learning to be a happier person, but also a better partner. It's most of the reason I'm here to begin with. To share what I learned and what has worked so others don't need to experience the same pain or make the same mistakes I did. So, in short, yes, your husband probably does need to go therapy. However, you can't force him to do anything. He needs to want to make those changes for himself. What are the changes you'd like to see from him? This isn't really an emotional intelligence issue, it's more of a you don't like that he's not emotionally expressive. Can you give some examples of what sort of changes you want to see? I have to wonder how you reconcile a man who is a loving and involved father with the husband you describe. He is what he always has been, either you accept as that or you break up your family. This is on you. I would love to hear his side of things, because I get the feeling you are an emotional vampire that just needs to feed of the sort of attention you say he does not give. BTW, why do you have a problem with logic? Given you have no respect for the man, insult him a couple of times in this post and show zero affection for him, I wonder why you are even bothering to post and don't go straight to divorce. You have certainly justified this already in your mind. As for your son, he is still going to be the son's primary male role model, he just won't see him as often. Are you scared to lose his financial contribution to your lifestyle? I await the downvotes.